There was a man by the name of Reb Shaul Veil. He was an assistant to the Polish king. And one day, the Polish king made a mistake of dying. And the heir to the throne was his nephew. His nephew was in the Swiss Alps on a hunt. I don't know if you go hunting on the Swiss Alps, but he was doing something on the Swiss Alps, and they had to summon him, and he would not be there until the next day. But they were stuck because according to the Polish constitution, the sun was not allowed to set on Poland without a king. So they needed someone to be king just for one night. And in the morning, when the nephew comes back, to hand over the crown. There were plenty volunteers to be king. There was only one problem. Nobody trusted anyone else that they're going to hand over the crown tomorrow morning. So there was almost going to be a major war that was going to break out amongst the knights. Until someone had an idea. They called in the Jew, Reb Shaul. Anti-Semitism in Poland was such a fantastic. The pain was so strong, the anger. They knew there's no way a Jewish king would survive. They said for sure, Shaul will be king for one night. The next morning he'll turn over the crown to the incoming heir. And Shaul said, I'll take it. And they said to him, Shaul, what are you doing? What do you need this for? He said, I'll take it. Just to be king for one night? He said, just to be king for one night. And of course, as soon as he became king, he started right away writing laws that took away the special Jew tax that there was. He started releasing prisoners that were imprisoned because of their religion. They realized, oh no. Sure you don't want to go to sleep? No. Really, the royal bed, it will serve you supper. No. Sleeping bed? No. I'm up the entire night. He was up writing decrees. And they realized they fell into the trap until the sun came up in the morning and the nephew returned. And Shaul handed him over the crown. He said, I did what I needed to do. And he turned to him. He said, don't leave me. I need you to be an advisor. You were my uncle's advisor. I need you to stay here, to be my advisor. Please stay here. Be my advisor. I beg of you, please. So he said, okay. So what? Advise me. He says, well, first appoint an heir to the throne. He said, they only have a daughter. What should I do? Well, get her married. Find a good shidduch for her. You know, someone that's kingly. Someone that you know is not going to poison you the next day. You know, someone you could trust. He says, I have a great idea. So he says, yeah, what's your idea? Your son. My son? Yeah, my son is Jewish. Okay, we can un-Jewish him, you know? And no, I need your son. You're the only one I could trust. Come on, throw a little water on his head. What's going to happen? He can do whatever he wants. I don't care what he does in his private room. He can learn Kitzot and Reb Chaim. As long as on the outside, come on. And he got very angry. He says, I want your son, Meir. And Shaul came home and he told his son, Meir, we are in big trouble. And Meir said, I'll run away. He said, it'll never work. He says, Father, what can I do? He says, one thing you can do. We got to get you married tonight. Because the law is that the Polish king's daughter was not allowed to marry someone who had another wife. That was the law. So you have to call an express shatchan. You know what I mean? Anyone says they can do a shidduch within 59 minutes after their first thing? We need someone. We really need this done quickly. Everyone said, you're not giving us much time to work with. It turned out that in this little village, there was one girl who was on her deathbed, Rahman al-Islam. She was dying. The Chevra Kadisha was standing around her bed. And they ran over to her. And Shaul said to her, they wanted to stop him. What are you doing? What are you doing? He said, no, let me talk to you. He says, maybe you want one more mitzvah before you leave this world. And with her last breath, as her life is ebbing from her, she says, what? He tells her, how would you like to get married? She looks at him like, have you lost it? You know what I mean? He says, no, but if you marry my son, you'll save him from having to marry the princess. So she agreed. And he puts the ring on her finger and says, Vayat mikodesh et li. Of course, she had no power to stand. She's laying on the bed. And they put a chuppah over her deathbed. Talk about conflict of emotions. And they write ketubah, a marriage contract. And right afterwards, the king shows up and says, I'm here for the marriage. The princess is here. And Shaul says, oh, what a pity. Just missed it. He just got married. Of course, they showed him the ketubah. He knew it was a trick, but there was nothing he can do about it. Okay. A couple of years later, Rav Shaul is sitting by his desk, by his palace, and there's a knock on the door. And his servant comes in and says, a woman standing by the door, she wants to see you. He says, listen, I have hours that I see people. I can't now. She claims she must see you. She tells us it's an emergency. She needs money. Here, give her some cash. No, but she says she's your daughter-in-law. What? I've heard of different excuses people try to get in over here. My daughter-in-law? Send her in. She comes in. She goes, listen, you're looking for an excuse to get in off hours. What's your problem? No, here's money. I didn't ask for money. I'm your daughter-in-law. What are you talking about? She goes, no, you don't remember? Your son married me. He goes, you? Of course, his obvious question was, you're supposed to be dead. But that's not such a nice thing to say. How do you say that? Oh, really? I thought you're dead. Oh, you're alive. Oh. Like, how do you say that politely? There's no politically correct way to say that. Oh, you're alive? Oh, that's a problem. What do we do here? You know what to do with her. So he's like, oh, Baruch Hashem, you had refuah shleima. I'm so happy. But she says, okay. So now I want your son. What do you mean you want my son? What do you mean he married me? I want your son. She says, well, it wasn't a real marriage. What do you mean it was not a real marriage? There were two witnesses. You put a ring on my finger. What do you mean? What do you mean? Of course it was a real marriage. She says, yeah, but we only did it. But you did it. There was ketubah. Well, of course we had to do it correctly, because we had to show that. So I want my husband. And she starts screaming, I want my husband. She's screaming her head off. And his son Meir comes running down. He goes, who's that crazy lady screaming over there? He goes, that's your wife. She said, I want to speak to my husband. So he's like, oh boy, what do we do now? So he says to her, really, I really appreciate what you did. It was so nice of you marrying me, but she says, everything is hashgacha. I know you only married me to avoid the king. But let's say, come on, at the end of the day, it was God's will. And therefore, now that we're married, let's start our life together. And he's like, So Rav Shaul calls her in. He says, listen. He says, let's do this right, okay? You saved my son's life. I have tremendous hakarat hatov to you. I am going to write you a check. You will be able to live the rest of your life b'simcha, with nachat. You'll be supported forever after. I'm just asking you for one thing. What? Just give my son, take a divorce from him, we'll call him to Eidim, we'll write a divorce, and then I'll make sure I'll buy you a house, you'll be supported the rest of your life. Because I don't want a divorce. I want my husband. I know, but everything is hashgacha. God arranged this marriage. He's like, you don't understand. He says, we're very miyuchasim, we're very royal lineage. She says, I'm also royal lineage. My uncle is the great Ramah, Rav Moshe Isserles, the Rav of Krakow, one who wrote the Ashkenazi right version of Shulchan Aruch. I know, but now mind you, she was 15 years older than him. And she said, he's my oldest son. You may be past childbearing years. And she said, no, I want my husband. So finally he tries to talk to her, and he says to her, but it wasn't a real marriage. But how could you say that? God orchestrated it. Yeah, but that's how God orchestrated it. At the end of the day, he came in and said, she's right, God made the marriage. And Reb Shaul started to cry, and they went to the Ramah. They went to Rav Moshe Isserles. What should we do? It's your niece. And she said, what do they want? They want money because I'm a poor girl? I potentially have a lot of money. All I have to do is take a divorce. I'm rich. And I'm your uncle, so that's not enough. So the Ramah ruled that they should stay married. They would redo the chuppah just to make sure anyone questions the validity of the chuppah. So Rav Shaul began to cry. He said, it's my only son. I want to have children. So here there are two versions of the story. Some say that the Ramah said they should take on a new last name of Te'umim, twins. And he told them, Ko sivarchu es b'nei Yisrael. There are two versions to the story. There's one version that she had one daughter, and the daughter had 12 sets of twins. Okay? Talk about buying diapers wholesale. And one son. One single son. And the Ramah said, Ko sivarchu es b'nei Yisrael. Some say she's the one that had all the twins. And they were the famous Te'umim family. The last name was Te'umim. The great Ashkenazic Rabbanim, almost all of them were descendants of this family, of what the Ramah said. And the Ramah said at the end, he explained to them that this is the epitome of our emunah, not that chas v'shalom we should be in this situation. But I don't know. It was destined for me to be in this makam kadosh.